How does that make you feel? And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second episode where we play Viscera Cleanup Detail. We are Freudian Glitch. I'm Kira.
I'm Charlie.
And we are your psychology graduate student hosts.
Hooray. With the most?
With
some
stuff. With some, very good qualities.
Fair to Midland stuff. That's all we can promise right now.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us again for the second half. We are discussing the concept of the emotion of disgust, which is one of the 7 primary universal human emotions.
Yep, and to do that, we're playing Viscera Cleanup Detail when we are knee-deep in things that should be disgusting.
In gore.
Yep, I have been cleaning.
To refresh your mop.
I do need to refresh my mop. Look at that. That is. I wish mops actually cleaned that easily.
Mops are kind of gross in their own way because they just kind of rub whatever it is that you're trying to pick up around.
Yeah, we're gonna spread it out into like an even film of filth and hatred.
So again, to reiterate what we said on the last episode. Heuristics that we use to determine what things are disgusting sometimes are inaccurate.
Yeah. Like you and frozen meat.
I'm sorry?
Like you and frozen meat. You hate frozen meat.
But I'm not disgusted by it.
Aren't you?
It angers me. I don't like it.
Sometimes it's difficult to tell whether you're just upset or whether you're grossed out.
I just don't care for frozen meat. It's a preference. I can manage. I just
There's
don't like it.
There's a sleeve of frozen chicken in the freezer that we're probably never going to use.
Oh, it's never, yeah. Well, I feel like that chicken has a lot of other things that, can be said about it that are not flattering.
It's chicken.
Yeah, but anyway, moving on. Moving on from my personal issue with frozen meats. It's not about disgust. It's just about...
It's the principle of the thing. Is that where we're going?
It's the principle of the thing. It's incredibly inconvenient, and it's never the same. I don't know. I don't love it. So,
all right.
Anyway, which is why, cryogenics, I don't think is ever really going to be a big thing. But that's for a different playthrough, for sure. Anyway, so disgust. Let's talk about it. So we have talked about it as the way that people can avoid disease threat. So disgust keeps you from approaching things that might infect you with an illness. It is also considered to be the moral emotion. So it heavily influences social behavior that reinforces stigmas and prejudices and kind of cultural and time-related stigma. So it can have some good and bad outcomes. Historically, there's a lot going on with disgust that can be said to not be very beneficial.
Yeah.
But one of the things that does is create a strong in and out group type presence, which we needed a long time ago, and we don't need as much anymore now that we are a quote. Oh, you're fucking. Oh,
it's cool. It's fine. This is fine. This is what I wanted. Anyway.
Throw that in the fire.
That can be fire now.
Anyhow, now that we're not living in tribes and we are a
more global society,
somewhat more civilized society. I mean, it is
that's
really
debatable.
reaching. Yeah, that is reaching. But
we're making some claims that we just can't back up.
Yeah, I am not responsible for that comment for sure. Take no responsibility for my words here.
But it's the internet, so at least it'll be taken out of context.
Yeah, no, at least there's that. But right, so hypothetically, when people were living, in distinct and discrete groups, like it was safer to know who was in your group. And now that we are more global, and some of these things that are holding on with that kind of stigma are no longer desired or required. Or we don't. Indy, cover your heart.
This one's a squirter.
Ew.
Yeah.
Alright.
So anyway.
Just wave to the nice people, thank you. Hey everybody.
Oh shit.
Oh no. Oh, you've made an even bigger mess. How?
So that I can wave. Sometimes you just have to do things for art.
That is true. So, anyway, that being said, things that used to serve us evolutionarily don't necessarily anymore, and a lot of those cultural concepts that Alyssa discussed are seriously inaccurate, very, very inaccurate. So the way that we perceive disgust now and the way that that has developed it's not necessarily as advantageous anymore in an evolutionarily defined way. So, some of the ways that it can be useful, though, is that, like, it can create behavioral change.
Yeah. No, that is a great way to do that, especially in, say, organizations like food service or healthcare work, anything like that. Using disgust is a good way to get people to actually be cleaner.
Yeah,
think about things.
This is your jam for the industrial organizational bit of things.
Sure is.
Yep.
It's so rare that we get to talk about things in a general psychology way. People don't know who we are. Hey.
I feel like you're making it worse.
I mean, it is on fire, so that's good. That's some hot fire.
What kind of gloves are you wearing?
The best kind. They're almost certainly asbestos.
So yeah, public policies that utilize disgust would be things like bathroom signage to get you to wash your hands.
Smoking cessation campaigns, those are especially effective, where certain governmental jurisdictions will require that pictures of, like, diseased lungs be put on packages of cigarettes.
Yep.
Because people are disgusted by gross lungs, as well you should be.
If you have an aversion to something based on a feeling of disgust, that can... I don't know why you're trying to...
It needs to not... I can pick it up.
Part of the thing?
I can pick it up, and therefore
that
means it needs to go away, I think.
I feel like
just
it's
let
just
it...
getting in the way.
Maybe it'll just be on fire out here and go away.
Alright, well,
Okay.
I'll let you work on that. And
I can't. It's stuck now.
Okay.
There.
I would just leave it. I don't know. It's fine. You're playing. I'll let you do it.
Do you want to play for a while?
No, you know I don't.
You've already said that cleaning an organization is your jam.
I do love cleaning an organization. But yeah. So culturally, things like hand washing, especially right now during this particular time.
Yeah, contextual factors.
Contextual factors that Alyssa discussed. We're so much more sensitive to people coughing or sneezing right now because of that potential disease transmission factor. That those types of warning behaviors will elicit disgust and cause people to move away from you. So
yeah, try coughing in a public place now. It doesn't work very well.
Cover your mouth and your nose. Seriously,
for the love of God.
Yeah, there is nothing more upsetting right now to me than seeing someone's nose in public.
It's like having your fly open.
Yeah, it's like having your dick out. Put your nose away, for God's sake.
Put your face dick away.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anywho.
Anyway. So not only is this your jam with kind of the organizational piece and trying to get employees to use sinks and hand washing and face coverings in a work setting, but it's also my jam because a lot of disgust emotions play a role in anxieties, and that's my jam. Is the treatment of anxiety. So especially like obsessive compulsive disorder, which a lot of very broad generalizations through like media and movie representations that are gonna hurl.
People are gonna be so mad at me for how I stack these.
I know.
Speaking of people who get upset over organization of things, that's close enough.
I don't love that. But anyway.
Do you like this internet? Comment below to tell me how trash I am.
So anyway, yeah. OCD gets a very broad generalization about how people are concerned about contamination, and that is not true for everyone who suffers from obsessive compulsive disorder. But contamination can play into a lot of OCD type behaviors and concerns and anxieties, and also the treatment, which is what makes anxiety treatment so engaging and creative for the person providing it and helpful for the person receiving it. So we can talk about those things at some other point, but a lot of the disgust type of behavior or emotions play into behaviors that are seen in anxiety disorders. So there is that. There are, however, survival overrides. You are definitely going to make me hurl. Like, this is...
Nope, keep watching.
I am not disgusted by things, but I am easily motion sick.
Fine, I'll use the lift.
Thanks for that.
Good for you.
Appreciate it.
Get out of here.
I feel like you're not. I feel like you're not really making the effort anymore. So, there we go. All right. Looking good.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh. Oh, and okay, it's fine. Probably fine. Did you have a mop or something? Isn't there something else?
Shh, don't worry about it.
All right.
I gotta get the blood off the ceiling, because who gets blood up here?
There you go. Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, so as I was,
please enjoy this motion sickness interlude.
Gross. All right. As I was saying, there are survival-based overrides for disgust.
Yes.
Some of those include things like cannibalism in a situation like the Donner Party, where they got stuck on Highway 80.
Yeah, it's an annoying bit of road. I don't blame them. Yeah, it
really is an annoying bit of road. They got stuck there and had to eat people in their party to survive. Also, the soccer team that crashed in the Andes on their plane, who had to eat their fellow passengers in order to survive. Some of those things can be overridden in order for you to survive because there's kind of a priority system in your brain for survival. So, in order to survive, you're willing to do some gross stuff.
Yeah, because if it's going to help you survive, there's less reason to be grossed out about it.
Yep.
Also, isn't there an inhibitory effect for like sexual arousal as well?
Yes, during sexy times.
Oh, the sexy times.
where there is arousal for that, people are less disgusted. So if you kind of really give a thought to all of the things that you might have done last night, you may or may not experience some disgust, maybe some shame. Who knows? Who knows? I will not kink shame for sure. Certainly not. I am not saying that at all. I am just saying that there are some things that you're willing to do when it is sexy time that you are not willing to do on other occasions, based on the fact that there are fluids, there are body parts that are sometimes considered disgusting when you are not in that state. So
yeah, because let's be real here. Objectively speaking, sexy times are gross. There's a lot of smells, there's a lot of sights and sounds that can be upsetting.
Yeah.
When you're not in that mood.
So for survival's sake, sexy time has to happen, and people have to be okay with all of those things. However, there is like a cultural component of this as well, where people are taught to feel shame and guilt and disgust over their own bodily functions and arousal states and all of this other stuff. So culture plays in heavily to that. However, there is again this kind of override in your brain to make sure that the species can continue and survive.
Important.
Yeah, hence sexy time, kind of all of that stuff goes out the window. So so those are the pros. Like, disgust has some pros, like keeps you from getting sick. You've got some survival overrides. It can change behaviors, but there are some like pretty major cons.
Yeah.
And a lot of those kind of surround the maintenance of harmful prejudice or stigmas around class, race, ageism, and disability. And so some of those feelings have to really be addressed cognitively. So like in a conscious awareness state, you have to really decide how you want to feel about something and address whether the heuristics are serving you and whether they are accurate. Because again, a lot of those things that come up immediately are not necessarily accurate. And a lot of the things that people have been told historically are not necessarily accurate. So, for example, a very kind of timely example of this would be like segregated water fountains. So a lot of the things that people were told at that time were not true, and they were culturally biased in order to get a certain result culturally. And so a lot of these things are inaccurate, they're unfair, and only kind of serve a particular cultural purpose at a specific time. In addition to kind of the prejudice and stigma pieces, there is a hidden cost to a lot of jobs and caretaking positions. So while people who do like this, like the Viscera Cleanup,
Yep.
so this guy,
It's a very particular job.
it is a very particular job with a very particular set of skills. It is the custodial Liam Neeson, if you will.
I will find you, and I will clean you.
But there is a habituation to stimuli. So habituation is just getting used to something based on exposure to it over time. So this would be like if the first time you see blood when you're new to this experience, you throw up, pass out, whatever you do. And then 20 times of doing this later, you are like, yeah, it doesn't bother me anymore. Isn't it weird, speaking of this right here, how like full carryout containers are not disgusting, but empty carryout containers are disgusting?
I think it has a lot to do with, especially if it's not your food container, it is considered gross because somebody else has had their mouth parts all over that.
Yeah.
And
because it's considered trash now. Like it's no longer dinner, it's trash. Yeah,
partially eaten food is gross because, well, and that's like people who don't like to share food. I think a lot of that is those people, right? I think a lot of that is disgust based, where, like, yeah, I don't like touching other people's food because it's been in their mouth and there's potential for infection.
I find that so weird. Like that sharing food does not bother me at all.
No.
I would pass it around, get our money's worth, So.
How do you even go to a tapas restaurant?
Indeed.
And tapas is delicious.
Yeah. How are we all going to have a bite of this very small thing if we don't, like, share it? So, yeah. I just find that interesting. But, so, yeah, the way that you think about things, even if they haven't changed, your opinion of them has changed, much like that carryout container.
Yep.
So, full carryout container, good. Empty carryout container, trash.
Yep. Like soft surfaces, too.
Oh, yeah.
Soft surfaces are, like, because hard surfaces, there's a lot of hard surfaces in here. If this was all carpeted,
it's like bathrooms with carpet.
Oh, no.
It does not matter.
That disgusts me.
Yeah.
Like, that hits my threshold.
It does not matter how clean that carpet is or how people use that, even if it's never been used.
It could have never been used, be it clean as a ooh, flashlight. Could be clean as a whistle. And I would still prefer to use the tiled bathroom with like 2 inches of pee on the floor.
Yeah, no, that is suspicious as hell.
Yeah.
So
you're telling me no one has ever missed in here ever?
You're saying there is nothing gross on this floor. I
don't believe you. Nothing you can say will change that opinion.
Yeah. So again, there are many things that are quirky and weird that kind of get to that. But people who do these
nuclear waste.
People who do these jobs.
Let's go put this in the fire.
Yay!
Yeah.
Surely nothing bad will happen.
Of course not. Nothing bad has ever happened by having nuclear material around.
It's fine. Totally fine.
This is fine.
So back to what I was saying about jobs of this nature, right? So you have people like custodians, people who deal with mortuary services, refuse collection, exterminators, livestock production, medical and
livestock production
and human care type jobs. they will habituate to this, and they'll self-select, and this is more your area. They self-select into jobs where you can tolerate this.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a nurse if you are grossed out by bodily fluids and needles.
Yeah. Well, and there are personality characteristics that kind of tell us what our individual differences are going to be regarding disgust thresholds and what you find disgusting. So openness to experience is a big one. Fear of death correlates pretty well with that. Interestingly, like neuroticism correlates a little bit, but not as much as you would think.
Mm-hmm. And all of these are like big 5 personality traits. So there are ways to measure this, and so you can kind of know what people are gonna lean toward.
Yeah.
So these types of jobs, like, people self-select into them if you're comfortable with that, or you get used to it over time. But there is kind of this hidden cost where there is still a social stigma.
Mm-hmm.
So people who collect trash, well, they generally have good benefits, unions, things
Pays
of that
great.
nature. Yeah,
A lot of disgusting jobs pay really well because they're disgusting and nobody wants to do them.
Yeah. But then when you tell people at a party, like, what you do for a living, there is a continued stigma about that job that carries over somewhat to that person. And that can be kind of emotionally exhausting for the person who is doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
So there are mental health kind of consequences for doing these jobs, even if the job itself is rewarding and pays pretty well and whatever. There are still some social consequences that can affect the individual.
What?
Dude, I feel like you need a new bucket.
Yeah, this bucket's getting pretty gross.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So what is the most disgusting thing you've had to do for work?
That I've had to do for work? I mean, a lot of your basic, like, trash collection, which, I mean, on the overall scale, not that big of a deal. I had to drain several abscesses on animals, particularly on horses. That's exciting. It does not necessarily gross me out, because I have a pretty high threshold for that. But there are definitely some squeamish people that do not want to be there when you do that. So I do tend to loudly announce when that is happening and what will be going on.
Yeah, no, if you're not used to that kind of thing, being sprayed with abscess is not cool.
They do get a little chunky and sometimes a little squirty, so.
Yeah.
Salt nuclear waste, it can go.
Yeah, no, definitely into the fire, for sure.
What about you? What's the grossest thing you've had to deal with?
Well, I mean, working in correctional facilities, I've seen some gross stuff. I've had to deal with that for work. I was a mental health care provider in maximum security prisons. I was also, I have done anxiety treatment out, like, not in a correctional facility as well. Oh, that was chunky.
Come on, man.
And so we used to do a lot of exposure therapy for things like obsessive compulsive disorder. And so kind of the way that that's treated is to go kind of above and beyond what would be considered in the normal range in order to prevent backsliding into an anxiety disordered range for those individuals once they leave treatment. So you got to kind of really push the boundaries in order to then prevent backsliding, because once you stop treatment, you can expect a little bit of backsliding over time. But in order to address that, you have to kind of get weird with it.
Go above and beyond.
Gotta go above and beyond with your exposures. So I have done things like eaten Red Hots off of a public toilet seat with a client. People usually get super grossed out about that when I tell them that, so I apologize if that is bothersome for anybody who's watching. I have also rubbed paper money on bagels and eaten those bagels. I have done a lancet prick for my own finger to expose a client to looking at a blood stimulus. There was no interaction, obviously.
And just
but
beat this into place. Yeah. Alright. Sorry.
So
You were stabbing yourself.
Yeah, he didn't care. It was apparently he told me I looked too not diseased. I guess I don't know. I was too tidy for it to trigger any anxiety. Oh,
those are footprints.
Cool footprints.
Gross little animal. You gotta wipe their feet when they come in.
You really do. You know those little like the jars that you can kind of put
that
animal
you stuff
feet
their
in?
feet in.
Yeah. Oh, that's what you need. Alright, so I think we are going to go ahead and end there, but if you have questions about anything that we talked about, or if you have comments, feel free to share those, things that you liked, things that you didn't like, other emotions or other topics that you might want us to discuss, or games that you'd like us to play. We are totally open to that.
Heck yeah, we are.
We're gonna, again, new bucket. We're gonna try to keep a release schedule to Wednesdays, but again, because grad school is difficult and sometimes unpredictable, we may or may not stick to that schedule, so sorry in advance.
Yep. We're doing our best, but school comes first, unfortunately. So.
Yep. So, again, like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.
Yeah, join us on a Freudian Glitch.
Freudian Glitch. Bye, everybody.
Bye. That's all we have today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.